Well, you threatened to expose Jason Luv at one point if he kept running his mouth. What exactly are you going to expose?
You know, Vlad, I wish I could tell you, but it's just there's a porn code as far as I'm concerned where things happen on set. There's been times where I shot a scene with a girl and her vagina stunk to the high heavens. You know, it's just the absolute worst thing you ever smelled in your entire life. But I'm not going to go on camera and talk about that because I think that it kind of goes against the code of what we do is like by filming yourself having sex with all these people. Of course, sometimes things are going to happen that are gross or weird and you just don't put it out there. Basically, I know things about him on set, but I'm not going to go out on a limb and, you know, really put that stuff out there because I just consider it kind of inappropriate. I know that there's been times where I've shot an anal scene with a girl and, you know, all of a sudden she poops on me. I got a turd on my leg, you know, I got a turd on my knee, really. And I remember I had a turd on my knee and I talked about it with my girl. I talked about it on the podcast. And then my girl told me, she goes, hey, I'm sure you never thought about it like this, but girls probably aren't going to want to shoot with us if you're like exposing the fact that they pooped on you or whatever, you know? So ever since then, I've kind of been like very, very strict and careful about what I'll say and what I won't say on camera. So yeah, I could do some exposing, and he's done a little bit of the exposing himself. He's been a little bit like closer to divulging said secrets than I would have expected.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know.
I mean, when I heard that, the first thing I thought was like, he messes with transgenders.
No, nothing gay.
Okay, because that was the whole Brian Pumper like rumor for a while, and I even asked him that. I think,
and I don't think that there's any truth to that with Brian Pumper either, because actually this whole thing caused Brian Pumper to get in touch with me for the first time ever, and we actually had a nice long conversation.
Isn't he in jail?
No, he's out now.
He's out?
He's dealing with some legal stuff.
Oh shit. Okay.
But
Brian Pumper free.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brian Pumper. I know.
Backwards. Yeah. He told me he would do the interview at some point, but he's still dealing with some legal issues. So, because I did a Brian Pumper documentary at one point that has over 1 million views. Really, the proudest thing I have going for me in my entire life, including my child, is the fact that I did a Brian Pumper documentary,
including my child.
But he never did any gay stuff that we know of. There's no good evidence.
Well, and then a bunch of other, high-profile men wanted their turn up next. Cenat, Antonio Brown. Am I forgetting anybody?
Probably. But
was it Aiden Ross? No.
I think it was more like me kind of suggesting it to him. I don't think he was really into it, even though I was joking around about him doing it in general as well.
I mean, at this point, do you care if you have, like, let's just say someone who you're friends with want to do a scene with your wife?
Mm-hmm.
Would you do it?
I mean, people seem kind of confused by it. This wasn't a situation where she was just dying to have a new dick inside her. It was a situation where she saw an opportunity to, in her career, because she's 32, before she fully like hangs it up at some point within the next couple of years and just does the mom thing full time. I think she and I both saw this as probably the best opportunity for her to fully profit maximize as long as she's doing this stuff. So the idea of her hooking up with somebody like Antonio Brown or fucking Guy Cenat is just like a joke to me. Like she'll do stuff with more adult performers, but all these guys who think that they have a shot, it's not. This was all on camera stuff.
Okay, hold on. Let's keep it 100 because this is obviously a financial decision and so forth. So you mean to tell me if Antonio Brown agreed to do a scene with her that you would film and own, you wouldn't do it? I mean, to think about this financially,
you are activating the financial genius part of my brain a little bit.
You see where I'm going with this?
But he would never do that.
Really? Because he has pulled out his penis, in public places. He posted a picture of his baby mother giving him head.
Yeah.
His kids has to see this at one point.
You make a good point. But do I think...
And his money situation is very different these days than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, because he hits me up to do he didn't hit me up. His team hits my team up immediately after he sent out that tweet saying that he wanted next and says, oh, I want to do an interview. I'll drive from Vegas to do the interview. I say, okay, I get my team on it. They start researching him, whatever, because I don't know anything about this guy. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be a great interview. It'll be viral just because of the tweet that he sent out and everything. And then my publicist tells me he wants $5,000. And, me and you both know that that's not totally out of line. That is the average person that I interview. Would I give them $5,000? Probably not. But would I give him it in a normal situation? Maybe. But I was like, I'm not giving you $5,000 when you just tweeted at me telling me you want to fuck my fucking wife, you asshole. So I was like, I am not giving this guy $5,000. That made me feel, and then the interview did not happen because I said no to the $5,000. I kind of thought that I was calling his bluff and that he was gonna, concede and just do it anyway. Apparently Antonio Brown needs $5,000. So.
Oh, I had 2 interviews with Antonio Brown scheduled, one of which he was in our studio and then walked out before the interview. And the other one, we're actually going to pay him more than $5,000. And then it turned into he wanted his money as soon as he walked in the door. And I said, no, I'll give it to you. And I'd already worked it out with his manager that he was going to get paid afterwards. I even had the cashier's check. And he refused and hung up on me. You know what I mean? And then me and him kind of, talked about it later. We kind of went back and forth in DMs and so forth, and he still wants to do something, but it's just kind of scammy behavior. You know what I'm saying? Where it was just like, yeah, I'm good.
So, and in addition, like what I said about her working with the Jason Luv guy, who had a few little comments that I didn't appreciate, but still, for the most part, I'll give it to him. He was mostly professional about it, because when you work in the adult industry, you just get used to the standard being that you don't act weird or egotistical. You don't ever talk down on any of the other performers. Like, these are things that you just kind of learn as time goes by if you want to be well liked in the industry and everything. And I don't think that the vast majority of adult performers would ever disrespect me or say anything about it. But then we're not talking about an adult performer. We're talking about Antonio Brown, who, I mean, he's exhibiting crackhead behavior. I'm not sure if he's actually smoking crack or anything, but he's acting crazy as fuck. So yeah, the idea of her working with anybody that isn't a full-time adult performer is out of the question. And yeah, because anybody she works with is ultimately my decision. She's made that perfectly clear that she's not trying to do anything that makes me feel uncomfortable or, pushes the boundaries of what we got going on. Because at the end of the day, we are married, we have a kid, we have a business together. We've really built everything that we've built in our careers together. So yeah, the sanctity of our relationship is very important, even if we might have different standards or different rules than the average relationship.
You have dick veto power.
Big veto power, yeah.
Okay, well, from what I understand, you made more off this scene. The 2 of you made more off the scene than any scene you've ever done.
It is the best-selling OnlyFans scene of all time. So she made more than any woman or any man has ever made off of any adult scene in the OnlyFans era. It's kind of, I'm not sure how we would necessarily compare it to the Kim Kardashian tape or whatever, but that's really the only thing that I think you can compare it to.
Right. Because people don't sell DVDs anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. It's from a very different era. But yeah, I mean, from my perspective, even just the conversations surrounding it have made me an absurd amount of money. Plug Talk, which is her and I's business, literally doubled in terms of how much money we're bringing in. And that's reoccurring subscriber revenue as well, which that's kind of been the greatest thing about this whole thing being so viral, is that every time you've gone viral, there's a YouTube video attached to it for the most part, right? So you have some video that's getting 1 million views, 2 million views as a result of the controversy or whatever. This has been like that, but instead it's all these people signing up to pay us monthly at onlyplugtalk.com, which has been just absurd. So yeah, I mean, if I was a little bit trepidatious about it in the early stages, once I saw how much more interested this made people in our sex life, that definitely helped make up for it.
So you made millions off of this?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.